Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to count down my choice for the most important Batman comic books of all time. We are not considering graphic novels, such as The Killing Joke. In this list, these are all selections from either the original Detective Comics or Batman comic book run. Let's begin. Number 10. Batman number 442, Part 5 of A Lonely Place of Dying, Rebirth. Published in December of 1989, Batman number 442 is the concluding chapter of the storyline A Lonely Place of Dying, which sees Batman still unable to fully cope with the murder of Jason Todd, his second protege to don the Robin outfit. Reckless and disregarding his own health and well-being while fighting criminals, the Batman family tries to rally around him, including Alfred and Nightwing, otherwise known as Dick Grayson, the first Robin. Soon, Batman finds himself up against a more deranged than usual Two-Face, who believes he is hearing his subconscious through an old radio, instructing him what to do. In the meantime, Dick visits his old circus grounds where he meets Tim Drake, a young boy who has figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman and that Dick was the original Robin. Tim is on a mission to help Batman from a distance, hoping to convince Nightwing to go back to being Robin to help bring his old mentor out of his depression. Nightwing refuses and instead joins Batman as his current alter ego. As Batman and Nightwing track down Two-Face, they find themselves trapped and in mortal danger. It is only the arrival of Tim Drake in full Robin costume that saves the duo, captures Two-Face, and convinces Batman that Tim could continue to train as the new Robin. Issue number 442 is a turning point in the Batman family arc, adding a new Robin and restarting the concept of the dynamic duo fresh after the Joker and the fans ended the last one. As well, missing from the comics since Batman issue number 429, this issue not only gives us a new Robin, but hints at the return of Batman's most dangerous foe. Number 9. Batman issue 1. Published in March of 1940, this first issue of the Dark Knight's own self-titled comic run gave us the framework that everything else grew out of in the Batman universe. The origin story of how the Waynes were murdered by Joe Chill, a common mugger, in an alleyway. Bruce's solemn promise to his parents to avenge them by dedicating his life to a crusade against crime. And the first ever Joker storyline that begins a conflict that would simmer for almost a century and would spawn some of the greatest television and movie adaptations, as well as give us arguably the greatest story arcs in all of comics. In this issue, the Clown Prince of Crime's tropes are all here. Death by Joker venom, giving his victims a permanent smile, taunting the police and Batman and daring them to stop him, leaving a calling card at the scene of the crime, a Joker card, psychopathic tendencies, targeting Robin, the boy wonder, to throw Batman off balance, being captured, sent to prison, only to vow that he would escape and be back again. Batman number 1, maybe one of the most valuable and rare of all comics, gives birth to two legends, the Dark Knight and the Clown Prince, which makes it one of the most must-read Batman comics in the whole run. Number 8. Detective Comics number 608, Anarchy in Gotham, Part 1, Letter to the Editor. Published in November of 1989, Detective Comics number 608 features a new villain and a new challenge for Batman, Anarchy. In this first part of a two-part series, Anarchy attacks a heavy metal frontman at a particularly noisy nightclub, electrocuting him, but not killing him, and leaving his own calling card, the Anarchy symbol. Batman, who is also at the scene, begins to piece together that this new vigilante, one that he does not feel comfortable with in his city, is using the complaints found in the letter to the editor section of the Gotham Gazette as a means to give power back to the people in the face of a system that is failing the common man. Anarchy's next attack is a chemical plant CEO whose factory is poisoning the Gotham River. Anarchy videotapes the attack and sends it to the television news station for broadcast. This issue ends with Batman returning home in the morning to have breakfast, conversing and arguing with Alfred about how his methods are different than Anarchy's, but not quite able to convince himself. At the same time, Lonnie Mansion, a teenager, is returning home from his paper route, where his father is late for work because he had a restless night, and as Lonnie sits for breakfast, he watches the same news as Bruce and Alfred. Anarchy is one of the most underutilized villains from Batman, and at the time, he represented a shift in not only the Batman storylines, where morality was continually questioned, but also in society as a whole, as the shine of the 80s and faith in the system wore off and the cynicism of the 90s began to take hold. Anarchy in this storyline represented that shift perfectly and remains a cult fan favorite of Batman readers. Number 7. Batman issue number 420, 10 Nights of the Beast, part 4 of 4. Published in June of 1988, this concluding chapter in a 4-part series sees our Dark Knight face off against the KG Beast, a Soviet assassin from a now defunct elite KGB unit. One can see a lot of what would become the character Bane in the KG Beast, physically overpowering, intelligent, and ruthless. Given a final mission by his superiors, this mysterious Soviet agent travels to Gotham to assassinate almost 100 people. On his list of targets is the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. And over the course of a 10-day period, the Beast is one step ahead of the GCPD, the FBI, the CIA, and the Batman. At one point, the Beast finds it necessary to sever his own hand to escape the Dark Knight, only to refit his bloody stump with another useful weapon. The narrative, with the backdrop of the crumbling Soviet Union in real life, is a last gasp of Cold War mentality that sees Batman allied with government agencies as they all work together to bring an end to the massacre the Beast is unleashing in America. Using his detective skills and extreme familiarity with Gotham, Batman enlists Alfred to impersonate Reagan, which allows Batman to get the drop on the assassin, chasing him into the sewers where a fierce battle ensues. The Beast, feeling outmatched after being disarmed by the Bat, runs away, only to be trapped in a dead end. And as the Beast turns to initiate a fight to the death, the Batman decides that the fight is not worth the risk against such an opponent and does not want to resort to killing himself. Instead, Batman encloses the Beast in a storage area in the sewer, leaving him to his own fate and destiny. Number 6. Batman issue number 366, The Joker is Wild. Published in December of 1983, issue 366 features an iconic cover of the Batman and his arch-nemesis the Joker locked in battle. This is the conclusion to a storyline that started in issue 365, where Batman travels to Guatemala to rescue Vicky Vale, who is investigating illegal arms trade between Cuba and the Soviet Union. In the meantime, Jason Todd, who is staying in Wayne Manor, makes an astonishing discovery in the old bedroom of Dick Grayson, the original Robin. As Batman fights his way through the jungle against man and beast, he eventually makes it to the ancient ruins where the arms trade is centered. It is then revealed that behind the whole operation is none other than the Joker himself, and he's been waiting for another chance to have some fun with the Bat. Outnumbered and outgunned, the Batman struggles to fight his way through the Joker's defense, but finally manages to come face to face with the Clown Prince once more. Unfortunately, this time, the Joker has the advantage, staking claim to the high ground and aiming an automatic weapon at the Dark Knight. He has him dead to rights. However, in classic DC fashion, the Dark Knight is never out of the fight, especially when Robin appears out of nowhere. Jason Todd, finding the original Robin costume in Wayne Manor and dyeing his hair black, traveled to Guatemala to aid his new mentor. He quickly disarms the Joker, banters back and forth with him before tossing him back to the Bat for the final blow. This story, another set against the backdrop of real-world events of the time, is the first appearance of the most controversial character in all of Batman lore, Jason Todd's Robin. It is fitting now, looking back, that this Robin would prove himself first against the Joker, only to have his last fight as Robin against the very same enemy. Number 5. Batman issue number 618, Hush, Chapter 12, The End. Published in November of 2003, no other storyline had seen so many of Batman's past sins and relationships come back to haunt him quite like this story. Throughout the first 11 parts of this epic run, the Batman is challenged by a mysterious new adversary, Hush, a bandaged, pistol-wielding madman bent on tearing away everything from Batman and Bruce Wayne. It appears that Hush knows everything about Batman, including his secret identity, the murder of the second Robin, Jason Todd, his relationship with Catwoman, and uses these, as well as almost every arch-criminal in the Batman's rogue gallery, against him to drive him insane and break him before killing him. This concluding chapter sees Batman sit with Superman, his longtime friend, and recount the events of the past 11 issues. He explains how everything happened, how Thomas Elliot, his childhood friend, was behind everything, how Thomas Elliot had implanted a device in Bruce's head to track him, and that Thomas Elliot harbored hatred towards the entire Wayne family because Bruce's father saved the lives of Thomas's parents after a car wreck that Thomas orchestrated because he wanted to get an early inheritance. But that's not all. there was someone else pulling the strings, and Batman realized it. He travels to Arkham Asylum to confront the one person with an intellect big enough to plan such a crime spree, the Riddler. Edward Nygma was dying of cancer, but he used the Lazarus Pit to cure himself, and in the process figured out Bruce Wayne was Batman, and over the year crafted this elaborate scheme to show the Bat just how more intelligent he was than our hero. Not to worry though, Batman manipulates Nygma into never revealing his secret, because if everybody knew, it would no longer be the greatest riddle of them all, and Nygma would no longer be smarter than everyone else. Number 4, Batman number 232, Daughter of the Demon. Published in June of 1971, issue number 232 introduces Batman readers to Ra's al Ghul, someone who would vex the Batman on a level like no other villain since or after. Batman arrives home to discover that Robin has been kidnapped and that 2 mysterious strangers have entered the Batcave in search of the Dark Knight. Ra's and his servant Ubu know who Batman is and want to enlist his help. It turns out that the same shadowy group that kidnapped Robin also kidnapped Raz's daughter Talia. This group, known as the Brotherhood of the Demon, are located in Calcutta, and Batman must team up with Raz to save their respective family members. As they make their way to the cult's temple, Batman becomes increasingly curious and suspect of Raz and his motives. Before he can act on these suspicions, Raz is shot, and Batman must hide him safely on the side of a mountain, which they are both climbing, the top of which is where the cult resides. As Batman enters the temple alone, he is faced with members of the Brotherhood and a masked assailant, who he quickly unmasks, revealing it to be Ubu. Soon after, Raz walks in the door. He explains that this was all a ruse, a setup. His daughter Talia was in love with the Dark Knight, and Raz wanted to see if the reputation of the Batman would withstand his trials. Raz, wanting his daughter to have her love, also needed to see if Batman would be a worthy successor to Raz as the head of the Brotherhood, a global terrorist organization. This initial conflict would continue to haunt Batman over the next few decades, as the demon's head Raz and his daughter Talia would continually interfere with his affairs and threaten global catastrophe. Number 3, Batman issue number 497, Knightfall, The Broken Bat. Published in July of 1993, the Knightfall story arc is one of the most shocking events to occur within the Batman universe. Never had we seen the Batman defeated in such a way. Sure, he had lost minor battles before, but winning the war was never in question until now. Introducing Bane, a now legendary Batman adversary, the Knightfall story arc sees the unimaginable, the Batman beaten intellectually, but also physically. In the preceding issues, Bane had engineered the escape of many of Gotham's criminals that Batman first put behind bars. Needing to clean up the mess, our Dark Knight spends 3 full days without rest battling the criminal element. When finished and able to return home to rest, Bruce enters his study to find Alfred on the floor and Bane waiting for him. Bane has always known Bruce Wayne was the Batman. He also believes that Bruce Wayne is the facade and the Batman is the real persona that Bane needs to defeat to take over all of Gotham. And as Bruce puts his cape and cowl back on, Bane injects himself with his venom, a steroid-like chemical that gives him immense strength and speed. Too exhausted from the 3 days of non-stop crime fighting, the Batman is no match for Bane, who throws him through the grandfather clock and down the secret passage to the Batcave. And as Alfred tries to get help, Bane stalks Batman, pummels him inside the Batcave, and wanting to not only beat the Bat, but break his spirit and make him live with the physical and mental agony of defeat, Bane raises Batman over his head before smashing him down over his knee, shattering his spinal column. Bane leaves the Batman in a crumpled heap, a defeated man and a broken bat. Number 2, Batman issue number 427, A Death in the Family, book 2 of 4. Published in December of 1988, A Death in the Family story arc may be the most well-known story arc of all Batman narratives. Well before Bane broke the bat in Knightfall, the Joker would do the unthinkable, changing the Dark Knight forever. The Death of the Family narrative follows Batman on the heels of an escaped Joker, who is now in possession of a cruise missile and wants to sell it to Arab terrorists. Meanwhile, Jason Todd is gifted a box of old keepsakes from a friend of his mother's, and quickly deduces that she may still be alive, wants to track her down. Book 2 eventually sees both narratives of Batman and Robin nation hop between Lebanon, Israel, and eventually Ethiopia. Jason is able to reunite with his mother. The Batman is able to get a bead on the Joker's whereabouts, and the Joker is able to make connections with those who want to buy his weapon. And after many false starts and dead ends, Robin does make his way to a warehouse and reunites with his real mother, only to have her turn him over to the Joker. who beats him without mercy with a crowbar. And as the Joker leaves Robin for dead, he ensures that the job will be complete. The warehouse that Robin and his mother are now trapped in is rigged with explosives. The building explodes just as the Batman gets close enough to feel the blast. What makes this book even more critical is that it was not the writers or the publishers of the Batman that would decide Jason Todd's fate, but the readers. At the end of the story, there were 2 phone numbers. One to call if you thought Jason should live, one to call if you thought Jason should die. Over 10,000 votes were cast over a 2-day period. Jason Todd lost by just 72 votes. Number 1. Batman issue number 251, The Joker's 5-Way Revenge. Published in September of 1973, this issue may be the most important for modern-day Batman fans, or at least modern-day Joker fans. In the golden age of comics, the Joker was homicidal. He was a psychopath, but something happened, and comics were regulated under the new code of ethics, forcing the Joker to become an annoying prankster, much like we see in the 1960s Batman TV series. However, issue 251 brought the Joker back to his roots and pushed him even further. The Joker's 5-Way Revenge was also the first time the Joker had been seen in comics in over 4 years. After escaping a mental hospital, the Joker believed that a member of his old gang was the reason he was captured in the first place. Someone must have ratted him out. The only logical thing to do was just to kill all 5 of them to make sure the guilty party was punished. Hence, the title of the story. The Batman is made aware of the Joker's escape after the first victim turns up with a permanent smile, lying in the mud. The Dark Knight decides to try and protect the remaining members of the old gang, but is unsuccessful for victims 2, 3, and 4, one of which the Joker tricks into having a cigar in his house, only to walk out as the cigar explodes and kills not only the gang member, but the entire household. Victim number 5 is wheelchair-bound and elderly, but the Joker doesn't seem to mind. He dangles this last victim over a shark tank and tells Batman that the only way to save him is to take his place. The Batman agrees, but the Joker pushes them both in anyway. Our hero is able to subdue the shark despite being handcuffed and break the glass of the tank with the wheelchair. But he's worried he may not be able to catch this newly minted clown prince of murder. Like all Batman comics, there's a lot of adherence to present day issues. And in the early 70s, environmentalism was emerging as a social force. And in issue 251, the Joker's trap and his hideout was set on a beach that recently had an oil spill. And as the Batman struggled to keep up with the Joker as he ran to freedom, a green-haired murderer slips on some leftover oil in the sand, giving Batman just enough time to catch up and beat him to a pulp, ending with comics' most celebrated villain being dragged off to prison once more. And that's my list. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. And if you like this list, check out my other top 10s and rankings, including my top 10 live-action lightsaber duels and my ranking of all the live-action Batman films. Thanks for watching. From south of the border, I am your reluctant gringo. Salute and a huevo.